Welcome to Nate's Growth Lab, where we are all working together to enhance our lives and change in the best way possible. I started a challenge, a 52-week challenge, to revamp my life and make it unrecognizable in the most positive way possible. And here we are, week 17 of that challenge, and I have a few updates for you all. I want to start by holding myself accountable and recognizing that I've been a few weeks late in providing updates. So this is going to be a little bit of a comprehensive update since we are now at week 17. Um, in some ways, I've had to go back to the drawing board. If I think back to that first video, I was like, I'm going to revamp my life. And in my mind, it felt like I'm going to do all this shit like in this week. And in truth, I did do some big changes in a very short period of time. Moved to a new location, started paying more attention to my exercise, my finances, but it hasn't been the overnight uh, radical change. Real radical change comes with incremental changes, consistent and incremental changes. So I put on my calendar once a week for me to a reminder to do these videos and the week number that it was, so I wouldn't lose track of what week I was on. So that way I could start really holding myself accountable. And if I actually missed it, it was still on my consciousness to do an update. Um, and with radical change, it's a lot of different layers that go into it. And one of the areas that stuck out to me is self talk. And you don't eliminate, or I can't eliminate negative self talk overnight. It's a process. And so the first stage of it for me has been recognizing when that voice in my head is not productive, and then countering that. And it doesn't just happen one time. Over time, every day we have these different moments where we might not meet our standard, or something happens and that little voice creeps in and tells you you're not enough, or whatever it is for you. um but the work has been like noticing it when it comes up, stopping it, and replacing it with something positive or productive. And this is something I'd say over the past maybe month that I've become even more aware of. When I talk about accountability, it's very easy to get lost in the suck of I am the problem, or this thing happened because I didn't follow through on what I said I was going to follow through on, and I just would get stuck in that loop of being like, oh, I'm not good enough. And so what I started recognizing is that the more that I was aware of those moments, the faster it was for me to switch out of that mindset. And like, as important as it is for us to recognize how and when we are the problem, it's even more important to take ownership over the fact that we are also the solution. So anywhere there's an issue or a problem in your life, it's important to acknowledge, like, what's your role in that situation. I'll give you an example. I had a friendship that I felt wasn't moving in the direction that I thought it should. And so I was looking at how I played a role in the decline of that friendship. And I'd gotten lost in the sauce of it's my fault. I'm horrible about keeping track with people and reaching out to folks. And then I had that moment where I took a pause and I was like, okay, well, if I'm not doing these things that I said that I think would be key to maintaining this friendship, it's on me to change. And so and so by making that little shift, it gave me it empowered me to really start making those sorts of changes. And I'm seeing this be something that I'm using both in my professional world, in my personal life, and it's making a difference. Like, just that little shift of being like, yes, I am the problem, but I'm also the solution, is a huge thing. And so that's something that I think that is making a big difference. um, a few other things that I want to update on. Um, I will say that I have not been meeting my writing goals the past month, and I have been lacking on that. But the good thing is, I have an accountability partner now, and we are keeping each other honest, and the work is happening. And then the last thing that I will share is one of the hardest things that I had to recognize for myself is the fact that Um, being a transgender man going through IVF right now has had a tremendous impact on me. And I don't often talk about it. I don't even talk about it in my personal life. But I had a realization this week because part of the process is cutting my testosterone. And I'm a guy's guy. And by cutting my testosterone, I started to notice, or I was able to realize that a lot of the brain fog that I was dealing with or the lack of energy was related to the fact that like my body's like, what the fuck are you doing to me, dude? So that also like let me know that I needed to start like leaning on my people a lot harder and the people that I feel safe around and can trust to really be like, hey, I actually just need a hug today and to lay in my bed. Um, so you know, it's really interesting. This is pushing my comfort zone talking about this in a very public setting. I tend to feel a push and pull about how much I want to talk about my gender identity publicly versus how much I want to keep that to myself. And I feel like it would be wrong of me on this channel to not actually talk about that. Even though this channel is for everybody and all of the things that people are going through in their world, it would be wrong or it wouldn't be authentic of me if I didn't actually mention how this piece of my life plays an active role in how I move through the world. Later episodes will get into some of the other things about how my gender identity plays a role in my life. But I felt like it was important to acknowledge that because when I'm thinking about, you know, the fact that one of my areas of becoming unrecognizable is around going to the gym. Well, if I'm really, really physically exhausted, how hard am I going to go when I go to the gym if I go to the gym? And so that's real. And it's if I have brain fog, how realistic is it for me to say, well, I'm going to be able to crank out 3,000 words of writing today when my brain just isn't moving in flow? So giving myself some grace for that. Thankfully, this process will be over in the next few weeks. But in the interim, it's just really important for me to be smart and be kind to myself through this process. Many people do it while they have a partner. I am single right now, but time's ticking on my age. And if I want to have a family in the future, I've got to make this step. Cool. All that. So, just to summarize for today, the one thing that I want to hit on is just this idea of yes, it's important for us to take ownership of how we show up in the world and not to get lost in the victimhood cycle or the doom spiral of we are just the problem, because for as much as we are the problem, we are also the solution. So, my charge to you today is identify one place where you see yourself as the problem, and I invite you to find how you can also be the solution. Moving into this apartment that I'm currently in, the problem was that I was in a place that wasn't working for me, and I was stuck on a loop of complaining about all the ways that the place was not great. And then I realized that, like, I can move and it's within my power to do so. And I made that change. So go out there, make some changes, and till next time, keep it pushing.